Thanks for joining the Point Taken podcast by Trimble. Let's start off with some introductions. Doug, tell us who you are and what you do at Esri.
My name's Doug Morgenthaler. I'm a product engineering lead, primarily working on field maps and focusing on high-accuracy data collection.
Okay, cool. Jeff?
Jeff Shaner from Esri. I'm the product engineering director for our field apps team, focused on field maps as well as some of the other projects we got going on. ArcGIS Navigator, another mobile application of ours. Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. So the first question I have for you, I frame it as, what is the current state of GIS field data collection? So with that in mind, what's the current state? What are you thinking about a lot? What are you looking into, researching? What's happening in field collection?
Do you want to start? I think, stepping back a bit, like we've been building mobile GIS products for well over 10 years, 15 years, right? We started cutting our teeth with the geos back in the day, building products like ArcPad and ArcGIS for Windows Mobile. And then when iOS and Android really took off, so did field data collection, field GIS in general. So one of the things we try to do at Esri is we build off-the-shelf apps that can be used by anybody for field use. And we look at these patterns like how does someone plan and coordinate field work that has to happen? How do they use maps to kind of advance their operational awareness, like having maps actually talk back to you, do more with query and looking at linear networks and utility networks and all the like. And then of course, data capture. Data capture is so big with us at Esri. We've got 3 applications that are dedicated to data capture. So lots of interesting stuff there.
Yeah. Anything bad?
No, I think it's, as the technology continues to improve, the capabilities become more accessible to more people. So we see this tremendous amount of growth of not just GIS people that are doing this, but engineers and other folks who are biologists, people that you wouldn't normally be able to associate with a lot of the requirements that they have to have in order to do that field work.
Okay. A question, it was an unplanned question, but when you started talking, I thought of it. In terms of the data that you get back as a software engineering team, do you ever look at that and then something comes up where you're like, oh wow, 10,000 people are doing this one thing and that surprised us? Like, are you kind of looking into usage data like that to also kind of figure out, does that help you figure out new things to do, or that you actually implemented something that was good? Or
I'll jump in again. Yeah. I'd say, for Esri especially, I mean, the adoption of our platform for field use is, it's still just growing. Like, it's just starting still. And it's hard to say, being 15 years into it. So I don't know if we've been doing a good job, I think, but we're still, companies are just jumping in. So I think there's 2 things for us really. One is being like with the boots on the ground, getting out, visiting our customers, seeing what they're doing and understanding the problems they face. And then 2 is kind of doing more data-driven decision making on our software, where we can introduce analytics into the product and glean information about how the product is being used. It helps us with understanding features that we need to improve or ones that are used a lot, but it can't help with new directions either. That's why that goes on the ground.
So you have a dual approach really, where you're definitely looking at the data and validating things or learning about what's working, what's not, but then you're almost using that anecdotal, we're visiting, you're on site with the customers.
You got to get out there.
To also help, it's a both, not either or.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Doug and myself, one of our big customers is CAL FIRE. Okay. And we were out on the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire with the damage assessment teams, understanding and seeing what they do and looking at how we can make the product better to support them. So that's really critical, I think.
And I'm thinking about, what has changed when we first started really engaging with CAL FIRE and damage inspections in 2017, 2018. It was a struggle for them to do it quickly, efficiently, lots of process improvements on their side, but a lot of opportunities that we saw to make their job so much easier. And I think case in point, when we went out and visited them with the Palisades and the Eden fires, we were more observers and just watching how far the process had come and how efficient they've been able to make it.
Yeah. And I guess some of those lessons learned too, it helps in that particular situation, but you can also apply that to other use cases as well. People get the benefits of some of that. Some of those lessons, I guess, and stuff like that. So,
Absolutely.
Can we jump into AI? It's always a hot topic. What do you feel about AI? How is it at Esri? How are you approaching it?
Can I use AI to answer that question? No.
Yeah, I assumed all of your answers were just generated.
Yeah, I need that real-time AI feed into my AirPod. No, Esri has an AI strategy at multiple levels. On the field side, we're just kind of at that tipping point of starting to kind of engage in AI. We see computer vision as a means to kind of improve efficiency for a field workforce, whether it be analyzing an image or looking at audio transcription. So those are areas that we'll be embracing kind of moving forward into next year on new development efforts for sure. And there's other places that we're looking at it too.
Yeah, one other area that we've been working on is just helping the person who's doing the project administration and the GIS administrator. So how do we help them build tools and scripts and configure the project that ultimately needs to get deployed to the field? How do we help them without having to be experts in a given area?
Right.
To produce the project that ends up going out in the field and then being used for the data collection or whatever the task might be.
Okay, just handle it. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Moving into what I would call common data environment or a data environment. I hear it's talked about a lot, and that's why I wanted to ask you about it, because I know at a company like Trimble, we have a data ecosystem where you can kind of play in that world, Trimble Connect, things like that. But then Esri also probably has a very big, you could probably only play in Esri's data ecosystem if you wanted to for your work. But then a lot of customers probably are there's Google Drive and there's like email, there's data everywhere, I guess. And so what's your approach to that common data environment? How do you think about it? How do you work in it? Yeah.
Well, whenever we talk about our field products, we talk about them being accessible and connected to enterprise systems, right? So fundamentally with our mobile products, we capture data in the field and we bring it into an Esri environment. But more and more we're looking at the integrations with other systems, right? And how can we make that easier for our customers to work together, whether it be their asset management system that's used to do kind of inspection workflows where the asset registry is stored in an Esri format, and how do you move data back and forth either with an ETL process or with a webhook based process, so you can simplify that experience for the end users of our mutual products. But to the documents and all of that stuff, we're engaging more and more into the engineering space where, man, they still work with files all the time, and they're linking data together.
PDFs,
so
okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting time with all of that. Yeah.
Okay. There's still a lot to be tackled in terms of
There's a ton to be tackled.
Handling that data. Yeah. So I guess you kind of said engineering is more of a but it sounded like you're finding more and more types of data.
I think what's happening for us is that, as our mobile applications kind of expand and grow, there's certain markets that are evolving faster than others. And we're seeing these new, I'll say personas, if you will, that want to engage in using our products more so than what they have in the past. So an example of that is, construction inspection workflows, where traditionally that was the realm of the surveyor, but the person that's accomplishing that work doesn't necessarily need to be a surveyor, and it's just that was the only tools that they had. So, we've got a presentation tomorrow with Seiler and one of our mutual customers, JEO Consulting, on how they're doing civil construction inspections and field maps, because it lowers that bar of entry for that construction inspector, providing new opportunities for them to kind of use like a DA2 paired with field maps to do their inspection workflows, where in the past they couldn't do that. But it's bringing with it, I want to see all the regulatory documents, all the design documents, and bring that information along with the services and other layers in their maps. That is just what we naturally do at Esri. So it's kind of evolving. BIM's the next thing for us. How do we bring BIM models down to the field in a fashion where they can, serve data capture and stay up to date for that construction worker. So it's lots to work out.
The interoperability, I guess you could say, is a big deal.
Key thing. And I think we're just starting there, honestly.
Okay. Yeah. I think when you said, sometimes non-surveyors can do survey work now, I think that's true. And then I also find that some surveyors are doing GIS work. The surveyor will be out there and they know it needs to go into Esri, and so there a lot of people, like the roles are kind of different depending on how an organization or government is set up. And so it sounds like what your approach is, like, we need to make sure, whoever you are, that you can get your data into Esri's ecosystem, but also if you need to get Esri data out and working with something else, you can also do that. So.
And that's where it's been great working with the folks at Trimble, because we have this really awesome relationship where we can work together on those problems, and even though we might have products that can compete against each other at times, our common goal is to make things more efficient and productive for our our mutual customers. So we just get stuff done. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Cool. Well, we'll close it out, but the last question, and Doug, we'll start with you. What's one thing that you'd want listeners to know about Esri? Like, what's one big takeaway? If a listener has listened to this episode, what's something that you'd really want them to know about Esri?
It's a great question and a tough one, because there's so many things to cover. But I guess for me, one of the things that I always really appreciate about Esri is the desire to engage directly with the customer. Jack's one of Jack Dangerman's sayings is, be interested, not interesting. And that's, I think, the way that we operate, and I think that's helped us build really strong relationships with customers and hopefully better products as a result.
Yeah, it's true. First time I met you was on a customer site, trying to get in the middle of it and learn. I think we had boots, safety gear on, so it was in the thick of it. So
absolutely.
And Jeff, what would you say?
And that's tough to top. It's interesting coming to this conference because there's so many people here that don't know about us, never heard of us, and it's challenging to kind of get our word out. And I guess sounds kind of cheesy to say, but location matters, and there's so many opportunities to start using Esri products. That a lot of organizations just don't realize yet. So you got a big job ahead of you, and telling people about us. So
that's why we're here talking about it. So but thank you for being on the podcast and being at Dimensions.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
All
right.